You have probably been dealing with this your whole life, or at least it feels like it lately. You are fast asleep, having a great dream, and suddenly your brain nudges you awake. You look at the clock, realize it is 2 in the morning, and you know exactly what is happening. You have to use the bathroom. Again. You drag yourself out of your warm bed, step onto the cold floor, and do the midnight stumble down the hallway. And if you are waking up 2, 3, or even 4 times every single night to do this, you already know how completely exhausting it is. It ruins your sleep architecture, it leaves you feeling drained the next day, and it makes you wonder if something is seriously wrong. Look, here is the thing that most people absolutely misunderstand about this exhausting cycle. The problem might not be that you are drinking too much water. In fact, there is a very high chance you are actually drinking water completely the wrong way. Today, we are going to fix that. We are getting straight into the actual science of why your body is waking you up, because your health and your sleep deserve your time, not a bunch of fluff. There is one surprisingly simple change in your daily routine that could finally help you sleep entirely through the night. Stay with me on this because there is one specific mistake, a fascinating biological quirk about how our bodies process fluids that most people have never even heard about. And understanding it could completely change the way you hydrate forever. Here is what most people do not realize about aging and human biology. Once we cross the age of 50, our bodies undergo some pretty significant shifts behind the scenes. Your bladder actually begins to store less urine than it used to because the muscle tissue changes and loses some of its youthful elasticity. At the same time, your body's entire fluid balance system starts operating differently. We produce less of a crucial hormone called antidiuretic hormone during the night. Normally, this hormone is the signal that tells your kidneys to slow down urine production while you are sleeping. When those hormone levels drop as we get older, your kidneys just keep churning out urine at a daytime pace. Because of these complex physiological changes, your daily habits end up affecting you so much more powerfully during the night. That is exactly why simply trying to restrict your water intake right before you get into bed usually fails to solve the problem. You might have tried cutting off all liquids at dinner, only to find yourself still waking up at 3 in the morning, incredibly frustrated. You know what surprised me when I first started looking into the research? The most common trap people fall into is actually drinking way too little water during the daytime hours. A lot of folks genuinely believe that if they just dehydrate themselves a little bit throughout the day, their body will not have any excess fluid to process at night, which means fewer trips down the hallway in the dark. It sounds logical, right? But human physiology is beautifully weird, and this strategy completely backfires. When you do not drink enough water during your active hours, your urine becomes highly concentrated. It turns dark yellow and becomes packed with waste products and acidic compounds. Your bladder is a highly sensitive organ, lined with delicate tissue. When this incredibly concentrated, acidic urine sits in your bladder, it acts as a severe irritant. It aggravates the bladder lining, causing the muscle to spasm and contract. This irritation makes your brain panic and sends you a powerful, urgent signal to urinate. Even when your bladder is practically empty. You wake up feeling like you desperately need to go, but then barely anything happens. The solution here is counterintuitive but scientifically sound. You need to drink plenty of water consistently throughout the day. Keeping your urine diluted and light yellow actually soothes the bladder lining and prevents those false alarms from waking you up. And this is where it gets interesting, because the way we structure our modern American workdays creates a massive hydration problem. So many of us are running on empty all morning, fueled by stress and staring at screens, totally forgetting to drink a glass of water. Then, we finally get home, eat dinner, realize our mouths are completely parched. And we try to catch up by chugging massive amounts of water while watching television on the couch. This evening hydration binge is a disaster for your sleep cycle. Think of your kidneys as a water filtration plant with a very strict speed limit. They can only process a certain amount of fluid per hour. When you suddenly flood your system with a massive backlog of water right before bedtime, your kidneys cannot just magically instantly filter it all. They have to work overtime, slowly processing that backlog while you are trying to sleep. As a result, your bladder slowly but surely fills up right when you are in your deepest, most restorative stages of sleep. To fix this, you have to completely shift your hydration window. The goal is to consume about 70 to 80% of your entire daily water intake before the late afternoon. You want to front-load your hydration so your kidneys can do all their heavy lifting while you are still awake, walking around, and naturally using the restroom. But wait, we have to talk about what else is sneaking into your body. Because ignoring the hidden chemical triggers in your diet is a guaranteed way to ruin your night. I get it, we all love our daily rituals, but things like caffeine, alcohol, and the notoriously salty American dinner are actively working against your sleep. Let us break down the science. Caffeine is a powerful stimulant, but it is also a known diuretic and a direct bladder irritant. And here is the kicker. Caffeine has a ridiculously long half-life in the human body. That cup of coffee or strong tea you have at 3 in the afternoon to beat the afternoon slump. A significant portion of that chemical is still actively circulating in your bloodstream, stimulating your bladder muscle at 10 o'clock at night. Alcohol is another massive culprit. A lot of people use a glass of wine to wind down, thinking it helps them sleep. But alcohol actively suppresses that anti-diuretic hormone we talked about earlier. By suppressing that hormone, alcohol essentially removes the brakes from your kidneys, causing them to flush out huge amounts of water while you sleep. And then there is the salt. A heavy, salty evening meal, like takeout or processed foods, forces your body to desperately hold onto extra water to dilute all that sudden sodium. As your body slowly processes that salt during the night, it releases all that trapped water straight into your bladder. If you want to sleep through the night, you absolutely have to cut off your caffeine much earlier in the day. Reconsider the evening alcohol, and keep your dinners focused on whole foods with much lower sodium content. This brings us to a crucial concept that completely blew my mind when I understood it. It is not just about the absolute volume of water you consume, but the precise timing of when that water hits your system. Timing matters just as much, if not more, than the total quantity. If you want a quiet night, you need to establish a strict liquid curfew. Instead of bringing a massive tumbler of ice water to bed with you, you should begin significantly reducing your fluid intake about 2 full hours before you plan to go to sleep. Now, I am not saying you should suffer if you are genuinely parched. If your mouth is dry and you are truly thirsty, taking small measured sips of water is perfectly fine. A little sip to wet your whistle will not ruin your night. But you have to completely avoid drinking large, continuous gulps of any liquid late in the evening. You have to give your digestive tract and your kidneys that 2-hour buffer zone to clear out the remaining fluid before your head hits the pillow. And you are probably not doing this next part, but it is actually the most fascinating piece of the puzzle. Most people go straight from their evening activities directly into their beds without preparing their physical bodies for the massive shift in gravity that is about to happen. Think about your average day. You are sitting at a desk, standing in line, walking around. Gravity is constantly pulling blood and fluids down into your lower extremities. For a lot of people, especially as we get older, this results in mild swelling or edema in the lower legs, ankles, and feet by the end of the day. You might even notice sock marks on your calves. Here is what happens when you finally lie down flat in your bed. Suddenly, gravity is no longer trapping that fluid down in your legs. All of that pooled liquid slowly seeps back into your bloodstream. Your heart pumps it around. And your kidneys look at all this sudden extra fluid and say, "Wow, we have too much water in the blood, time to filter it out." So, your kidneys diligently turn all that leg fluid into urine while you are fast asleep. It is a biological inevitability that you will wake up needing the bathroom. The fix for this is incredibly simple but highly effective. If you notice your legs swelling during the day, take 15 to 20 minutes every single evening to sit on the couch and elevate your legs above the level of your heart. Let gravity drain that fluid back into your core while you are still awake, so you can pee it out before you go to bed. Combine that leg elevation with one final, non-negotiable habit. Never rush into bed without completely, patiently emptying your bladder. Sometimes we are so tired we just do a quick trip to the bathroom and jump into bed. But if you do not take the time to fully relax the pelvic floor and empty the bladder completely, that residual urine means the tank will fill up to the alarm bell level much sooner than it should. Try implementing these very specific, science-backed changes for just 1 week. Shift your hydration to the morning, manage your salt and caffeine, respect the 2-hour curfew, and put your feet up. It sounds simple, but working with your body's natural rhythms instead of against them is powerful. Now, I have to be completely honest with you. If you meticulously follow all of these steps, you fix your hydration habits, and you are still finding yourself waking up several times every single night. It is time to have a real conversation with your doctor. I say this because chronic nighttime urination, when lifestyle factors have been ruled out, can be a massive red flag for other things. For men, it is often one of the very first signs of an enlarged prostate pressing against the urethra. For anyone, it could be a warning sign of undiagnosed diabetes, where your body is trying to flush out excess blood sugar through your urine. It could also simply be a side effect of certain medications you are taking, particularly blood pressure pills that act as diuretics. Do not ignore it if the problem persists, because catching those health conditions early changes everything. Look, nobody should have to accept terrible sleep and constant exhaustion as a normal part of getting older. You have the tools now to change how your body processes water. If this deep dive changed how you think about your daily habits and your hydration, hit subscribe right now. Because I break down health science exactly like this every single week. We look at real research, we skip the medical jargon, and we focus on just the honest, useful stuff that actually works in the real world. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care of your body, and I will see you in the next one.